Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and hello all dear viewers. Welcome to my show, Sports Talk. This is your host, Hussain Mahmood, bringing you live debates on UC TV. Many thanks for all your support and encouragement thus far. We're definitely on track and momentum is most definitely being felt. Please continue to share, comment and or like media content and subscribe to UC TV for ongoing notifications and progress updates. Through these unprecedented times, I do wish everyone is safe, taking the necessary precautions and keeping a positive, helpful mindset. I would also like to highlight for all my viewers, we are definitely taking all necessary precautions as individuals and the wider team here at UC TV Studios. On this week's show, I will continue to bring you views surrounding the low entry level of British South Asians in top flight football. And as always, we all have a role to play in creating awareness and improving performances and developing our youth today for tomorrow, highlighting the need to adopt the right mindset, breaking the current mould and making the change happen. Having said that, on this episode, you will be pleased to learn the changes we have been part of thus far and what the FA has done to match our enthusiasm in this area. Massive groundbreaking changes have already happened and guidelines have been structured to favour British South Asians more than ever before. So, all my dear viewers, keep involved, keep liking, sharing and commenting because changes have already taken place. It's your host Hussain Mahmood holding the front line and being the voice for us all. I need you and we need the change. Stay tuned and we will let you know exactly what change and impact we've made so far. Diversity, equality and a fair qualification system being our number one agenda. Allow me to inform you once again on this show, I'm seeking and looking for selected clubs on grassroots level producing superstar players in line with the FA's Reach Plan. We will then work collaboratively to fund and support football clubs for BSAs to break through into top flight football. Well, alongside myself today, bringing his views and insights, we have a special appearance on the show, an individual who has achieved professional status both in the domestic circuit and on an international level. He is a former Pakistan international footballer, a midfielder who has enjoyed a career spanning 11 years in football, including 6 international career caps in which he scored 4 goals and won 27 caps. Our very own Mr. Adnan Farooq Ahmed started playing age 9 and from grassroots, got spotted by Bury FC at the age of 12, under 12s. After a good 2 seasons, was signed by Manchester United on schoolboy terms, playing alongside Darren Fletcher, Kieran Richardson, and others. Got scholarship with Huddersfield and went on to make professional debut and was there for 7 years. Unfortunately, injury hampered success, but still has had a good career going into play for Tranmere Rovers, Hungarian Premier League for French Vorus, and Abu Musayam in Iran, being his international games. And he's also played 25 times for Pakistan. So, without further ado, let's bring in Adnan and let's talk sports. Assalamu alaikum, Adnan.
Wa alaikum salam.
How are you, my brother?
Very good. Firstly, I just want to say it's a pleasure to be on the show. You're doing a great job, and obviously it's a pleasure for me to be on.
Thank you very much, Adnan. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I've been looking at your career, your bio. Alhamdulillah, you've done very, very well. And it's a real pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to some of the insights that you're going to give us going forward. So, now, first of all, I would like to get straight into it. Can I ask you, can you tell me what had motivated you getting into top flight football in the early stages?
Yeah, so for me, my journey started when I was 9 years old, which in nowadays football, a lot of players are starting at the age of 6, 7. So I actually started relatively later than what is a norm now. And the reason for that was my elder brother, who's approximately about 9 years older than me, who's well known in the local area for playing football in Asian teams, etc. He just had an idea to start training me and my younger brother. And it all started from there. So the journey started at 9 years old, where My elder brother managed to take us to the park, and it started off with half an hour doing a bit of corn work, and then that half an hour turned to an hour. Then that turned to every other day. Then it turned to every day kind of thing. So from beginning at 9, I would say for a full year it was quite a stringent program I was on through my brother, which was all about ball work and technical work. And we follow this. It's a program called the Corva Coaching Program, which is all about basically technique and ball work. So that's how the journey started. Really, is from that moment onwards.
Great. So I've covered up previously on my topic, my episode 1 and 2. I've gone into a lot about parenting, motivation, enthusiasm. So are you saying that Madge is actually the guy who's kind of motivated you getting onto kicking a football?
I would say so. I think when you're young, especially let's say from 9 to 7 till about 10, 11 years old, you're guided from your external influences. If your external influences aren't football, then you're not going to play football.
Yeah, understandably.
Most of the time, odd exceptions happen here and there, but yeah. So I mean, it was kind of I would say more. It was led into that direction,
from your older brother, Madge.
Exactly, from that point. And then, ultimately, as you progress through that, then it's individualised in terms of your inner motivation to train. What you find is some people are good trainers and some people are bad trainers, meaning that you can get them, let's say if you had an hour session, some people will give it all in that hour, some are just there to make, to waste time in a way, so it's important that you self-motivate yourself, alhamdulillah, I would say from a young age, I was the first where I was always first to training, and I enjoyed training.
First one in, last one out.
Relatively, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's my next question, really. I mean, you could have somebody, because what I'm thinking youngsters getting into football for the first time, and they have to get on that big pitch.
Yeah.
And they've got players and friends and families that they don't really know as such, and then they have, they're kind of on the spotlight.
Yeah.
So once you have external people actually giving you encouragement getting onto that pitch and doing what you're doing, there's got to be that self-belief, right?
Yeah, definitely.
How do you kickstart that self-belief? Because one is talent. I've covered this in episode 1 and 2, and my viewers would also know this, but it's that drive inside. Yeah. And getting to top flight football and the barriers of getting to them top flight footballs, that stage and that status. Yeah. How did you feel? I mean, did you see that this is a long uphill struggle?
Yeah, I think the key thing for me was after about a year or so, I realised that had above average ability. So luckily I was everything I was doing, I was catching up very quickly. So, for example, like I said, I started relatively late in today's football. 9 years old, people are playing at 6, 7. So it's important that you get the technical work in as young as possible. So there is a structure to what has to be done. This is an important thing I feel a lot of South Asian parents and players are not following correctly.
Okay.
So for the earlier years, it's all about technique. It's not about even going out and playing and stuff. It's more developing your technique, technical work, passing, control, right foot, left foot, the basics basically.
So that the corn work, balancing.
Exactly. So you're getting an idea of movements, you're now getting comfortable with your movements, and then you're ready to step up as such. And for me, I was quite fortunate because the pathway that I had, and now knowing what I know, alhamdulillah, by grace of Allah, that it was the right way. Meaning that I started off with the technical work first, 9, 10 years old, and then we went to a mainstream, Sunday League team. Now, the reason why I've highlighted mainstream, this is very, very important. A lot of South Asian players are playing within their bubbles.
Correct. Okay.
And this it basically limits your success.
Progression. Yes.
Progression.
You're putting a cap. Would you say?
Exactly. You're playing in a pool that's not really the best pool. Basically, if you put it in a nutshell. So getting in the mainstream Sunday League is vital because that's where all the scouts are. That's where all the the main things are happening in football.
Yeah, proper grassroots level.
Proper
football.
grassroots. There's so many teams around that. There's a selection of teams. There's no shortage there. So I was quite fortunate that under 10s I went to mainstream grassroots team. And then that was kind of now an eye change. Well, for me, is an eye opener, I should say, where you're now seeing things a bit more professional in that sense compared to what you used to. And that was the building blocks really for me to push on, because all of a sudden now you're in a game environment, you're understanding your positional play, your relationship to the team, your teammates. So you're now learning valuable life skills, and football skills obviously as well. So at that stage, this is one thing that I'll touch on later as well. Is young boys. One thing I'd say to parents is definitely get if the boys want to play and they're ready to play, try and get them into a mainstream team as soon as possible.
Absolutely, Adnan, you made a very, very good point, and it's great to hear it coming from you, a person, professional, who's got first-hand insight, experience there. Because on episode 4, and my viewers would already know this, I've actually picked up on this as well. That a lot of our British South Asian players are playing in the seven-a-side, AstroTurf. Such football on the seven-a-side basis, playing in their own bubble, as you mentioned, with friends and picking their own sides. Yeah. And from what I get from that is when you're actually going into mainstream and you're having to, work collaboratively with your players you don't know. Yes. And you have to adapt quickly. And if you're not used to that and you've been playing seven-a-side, then surely when you're coming into the mainstream, you're lacking that confidence.
Yes, 100%. I think there's two points really I pick up on here. One is that you lack that confidence. Obviously, you're out of your comfort zone, so that's the reason why you lack that confidence. But second is players get deluded and parents get deluded. So when they're playing with the bubble, I know it's relevant with COVID now with the bubbles, but it's a different type of bubble we're talking about. But then obviously when you're in that environment, what happens is you think you're better than what you actually are, and this is one of the
you're the local superstar, aren't you?
Exactly,
the community superstar.
And the players that you're playing with, half of them are substandard, maybe 80% are substandard compared to the mainstream. Yeah. So what you find is this false delusion, really. That delusion
that they're a good player.
Exactly. They start believing the hype that they're better than what they are, and this is a major thing that I found since I stopped playing football. And I've had many parents coming to me about helping the kids, and my kid's good enough to play an academy, etc. And when I have a look at the boy, obviously I don't want to disrespect him. I'm not going to name no names or nothing like that, but in a general point of view, when I've looked at them, they're nowhere near good enough to play an academy just yet. And what I mean just yet is they have time to develop. Sure. But this is the thing about delusion. In their heads, they think they're ready now to go and play. So you have to go on this journey that I'm talking about, because you learn. It's like with any sport. If you're a boxer, you have to do some sparring rounds
you
to get ready for.
Can't go into round 6 with Mike Tyson.
Exactly. Common sense, really.
It is common sense.
You'd be quite surprised that.
But you say that, Adnan, I'll cut you short there. It's common sense, and I've always thought is what's common to you or me may not be common to a third person. Yeah. And this is the kind of the bubble, and this is the mould that we're trying to break. Yes. We're looking not only at talent and external support and parenting. Yeah. As an individual, as a player on that pitch, before he steps on, humbleness has to, from my playing days, and the insight that I wanted to get from you is, how do we change this mindset? How do we get our British Asian players thinking and feeling, hold on a second, maybe I'm not that good. Maybe I need to pipe it down a little bit, or I could go down the proper pathway and start that coaching, start that mindset. So would you say that at this moment of time in our youth, rather than the whole look at me and what skills I can do and look at what's this shot from 30 yards out, it's more the case of, listen lads, let's get the cones out, let's do some ball work, let's start looking at how we position and how we control the ball, and let's start focusing on where the game is before the ball arrives. Right? So what kind of mindset do our British South Asians at this moment of time need in terms of youth and our training and encouragement to break that mould, and from the inside we're talking?
I think one of the key things as well is understanding the pathway. Now, a lot of what you're talking about, people are talking too much and actions little, and it's amazing how many times I do talks at some schools, and predominantly Asian schools, and what I found is you ask them a question, what do you want to be, a footballer? And ask them a simple question, and that's how many times are you training a week? And the answer you get is twice a week. I mean, it's not rocket science, to master a trade, you need 10,000 hours minimum. So if you're training twice a week and you actually want to be a footballer, there's no chance really in reality that you are going to make it as a footballer. So key thing there is understanding, this we're talking about pathway, it's about educating parents and players what it takes. Like, for example, when I was 9 onwards, up until I retired really, and even now I still train, I was training virtually 7 days a week,
every day.
Virtually every day. On my day off, I'm still training with my brother outside.
Were you going training alone?
With my brother, initially it was me, my elder brother, my younger brother, so 3 of us just go to the park, and obviously my elder brother had set drills that he'd picked up on, and we just did them for an hour and a half, and that was virtually every day. And even at home in winter time, for example, we had a garage. We converted that into, obviously, let's say a play area. So it's like
just the goals, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Because my mum had enough of smashing windows inside, so we had that was perfect. And what my brother did was kind of outside the box. We had a small tennis ball, so for majority of the times, was working on stuff with a small ball. Okay. So forget about the big ball. Yeah. So when you're doing now your kick-ups, your cone work, your dribbling, your controlling off the wall, it was all with a tennis ball.
Excellent, right, okay.
So that fast-tracked your control, basically,
So when you see a football, it's like
exactly.
a massive object.
It's a balloon, isn't it? No, but it goes a long way, and it's obviously, again, comes back to continually doing that, it can't be, it's got to be habitual, consistency is a key to success, and this is one of the key things going, your question there really about what are the things that have to be implemented, and it's got to be now a drive within you, but also you've got to now be ready for that, getting that habit within you, which is going to be, okay, right, I'm going to go train, and you're going to do it. It's not a case of, right, today I'm tired, I'm not going to do it. And luckily for me, I was very driven like that. If I did races, I wanted to win. If I did anything,
competitive,
very competitive from a young age. That's one of the reasons I feel, definitely was a huge characteristic for me to push through, the way I did really, was that drive.
Absolutely. So, Adnan, that's really key, that information that you provide, and I hope today from that insight that you do give, that our viewers are taking all this on board.
Yeah.
The pathways that you mentioned, your personal experiences, and even your tennis ball, from tennis ball to football. So what we're saying is, to break it down, is what I feel personally is our players, or British South Asian players getting onto a pitch, they want to score a hat-trick.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want that spectacular goal of the day, that's remembered for like decades after, and they don't have to do anything ever again.
Yeah.
We're forgetting that there's a lot of hard work, them 10,000 hours that you mentioned, and success.
Yeah.
I've always thought, and in practice as well, that success is achieved by prolonged amount of effort over a period of time.
Yeah.
Just like training, just like boxing. If you want results, you're going to have to put them hours in.
Yeah.
So to round that up, pathway, mindset, the right coaching, starting early, not going for the goals, not going for the matrix.
Yeah.
We're going for consistency. And hard work.
Yes.
And then I'm sure results should follow.
Yes.
Shows like ours on UCTV, Sports Talk, where we are reaching out to the FAs, to the agents, looking for selected players. If they continue to do what they're doing, I'm sure in time to come, positions will open up for them, right, Adnan?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, that's one of the key things. If you're good enough, 99% of the times you're going to get through. Yes, there is an element of racism which we'll touch on later on that I did experience, but I'm talking about now maybe 20 years ago for me, when I was under 15 or below that 20 or more than 20 years. Whenever I did well, I got in. Whenever I didn't do well, I didn't get in. But I was quite fortunate. I had my head screwed on that. I was aware of that. Now what I find is, many times it's an easy card to say that racism. there is an element of that, without a doubt there is. But what I found is majority of the people that are saying that actually aren't good enough.
Okay,
You know, that's the reality.
So that's the back door exit.
It's back to exit, and just they actually they don't understand. That's the thing.
The quality it takes.
They just believe that they are good enough, but the reality is, you see, there's levels within levels.
Yeah,
you know,
is,
so, for example, you could be in an Asian league, for example. You could be the best player there, but that level within there, you're the best player there. So you think, okay, I'm the highest level. You go to a mainstream team, now you're the worst player there. So the levels within levels, now the levels that you go to in grassroots, are you going to be the top 2 or 3 players in that team or in that league? You have to be, otherwise you're not going to get through. So then you go from there being the best player in that level. So luckily for me, obviously I didn't go into an Asian league or anything. I went straight to grassroots. Ended up sticking out by under 11s, under 12s. From there, I had many scouts that looked at me.
Is that Huddersfield?
No, this was when I was under 11s. Was at a local team called Salterfith, just a very grassroots basic team.
Okay, yeah.
But the point is,
scouts
come. They come in mainstream. This is my point. I'm saying about pathways.
Okay.
If you're playing in that mainstream, the scouts, their job is to go and find good players.
Yeah, they get the umbrella now, and they just stood there watching.
They're there, and ultimately within the league, you get whispers of good players as well. For example, I virtually knew of all the other teams because it's the same age group. Who's a good player? Who's the one to watch in the other team? Everyone knows that. It's like obviously at the highest level, when you watch a team that he's a good player or he's a danger man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So even at young levels, what happens is those whispers go to scouts, etc. Clubs are already aware of the player before you've even seen him.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
they normally, off that whisper, they come and watch. So the point is that you have to, basically, once you're at that level, you have to stick out. And then when you go from there to the academy, so for me, from under 12s, I signed for Bury as my first professional club, if you like.
Bury FC.
Bury FC. Again, that was a different eye opener for me again, because that's now gone to another level to what I was used to. Because grassroots is grassroots.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's there for basically your underlying foundation. But now at Bury, it's all structured. Everyone's in the proper kit. The coaches are on time. If anyone's late, they're obviously getting told off, kind of thing.
Was it a little slacker then? Was it a bit different at your times then?
In what's
Bury FC? Obviously, they're doing quite well now, aren't they?
No, well, Bury they've actually gone bust, haven't they? So.
What I mean?
Then there was a good side.
On the rise.
Yeah,
when they was on the rise.
Yeah, they were a good stage. I think they was in League One at the time there. But a stable club at that point. A very they had a good history of young players and bringing them through. Actually,
So do they no longer exist, Bury FC?
Unfortunately, they went bust, didn't they?
Totally. No takeover.
No takeover. Unfortunately, didn't happen. There's a big mess. Which
you could have stayed there, Adnan. Things could have been very different.
No, but once I went there, what I realised was, wow, these levels are now gone up another
excelling
notch
from grassroots to.
So then now, when I first went there, I was like, I felt like a small fish, in a bigger pond now. But quickly, obviously, adapted. The standard was much better. It was a lot quicker. Obviously, you're getting now the better players from a whole area coming there. So it's not just a grassroots team where normally they're not really. You have maybe 3 or 4 very good players. It's not very good, but good players, and the rest are mediocre in grassroots.
Yeah.
So now Bury, now you're looking at everyone's a good player.
That's why they did. Just to pick up on that, Adnan, you mentioned this feeling of a small fish in a big pond.
Yeah.
You're just getting into Bury from grassroots, onto the next level.
Yeah.
You was what, 11 years old?
Yeah, 11. Yeah.
11 years old. I mean, 11 is
yeah.
Come on, 11.
Yeah.
You're still finding yourself when you're 11 years old. Never mind finding your feet. You're finding yourself as a person.
Yeah.
And for my viewers and your insight.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of all the 11-year-olds out there at the moment. Let's just freeze on that for a moment.
Yeah.
They've just stepped into a club like Bury, wherever they are, wherever you guys are, up and down the country. And if you're listening, you've got friends and family, get in touch with us, tell us your experiences. The number's on the screen. That moment when you feel like a small fish in that pond, and you're stepping in, the ball comes to you for the first time, and you've got 10 of your mates on the pitch.
Yeah.
There's that feeling there. And then you've got your friends, your family's all looking at you, they're all onto you. And in yourself and your ability, you've done the pathway, you've done the whole, training or getting to that level, you're confident, and now you want to break through to the next stage.
Yes.
you need a serious type of mentality at that stage, and you need some, you really need courage.
Yeah.
What did you do at that stage? Or how did you drive that courage? Where did it come from?
I think you 100% nailed it when I said you need a certain type of character, and I think what this is doing, this process, is building your character. In fact, this is a key thing as well.
Yes.
So when you're going through each stages, you see, it's a funny thing when they say that someone's inexperienced, so we're not going to take him. But how do you get experience? You have to do it. Correct. So this is all a part of
22.
Exactly, and this is the whole point. This is all experience. So when you're going through it, you deal with it, and that's simple as that. So when you're there, you know that, look, if you're on a 4-week trial, at that stage it was a 4-week trial for me. So you get out there and you just get on with it, and you literally...
You back your processes, you back the training.
Exactly, yeah, you're good enough, that's why, let's say there's spotted talent in you, that's why you're there. So then you just got to go and show the best that you can do, and then if you are good enough, you'll get through, and if you're not, sometimes you're not quite ready as well. It's not a case of,
if you're good enough or not.
Yeah, they might see a bit of talent, but then talent, when you look at the broad spectrum of football, it's not just about, like you're saying, scoring goals. If you can't hold up the ball well, or you can't build up, or you can't link up with your teammates, and they see that, but they see you can score goals, or they can see that you actually, if you look at it in the spectrum, you might be good at one thing, but you need one thing at 5, for example. I'm just giving you the basics of how it works. They have a chart on how they,
how they score it,
or how they
KPIs.
Gauge it and analyse the players. So it's important that obviously that you tick the boxes in many other areas, not just the one area. And that goes back to the training that you've had. So normally, if you've worked on all round kind of stuff, then luckily for me, I was good enough, and quickly, to be honest. It was quite, within, I would say, probably 8 weeks, from beginning being quite shy and a bit reserved, naturally, again, a young Asian player going into an environment that's completely alien to me, my family. That's what I call vital character building years, and that's what I found was excellent, really, that, for me, is that step of, going through that process. So,
and then that vital character building, thank you. I couldn't thank you enough for that, because if the viewers are taking that in as I'm taking it in, I think you've hit the nail on the head, because you could have all the charisma, you could have all the confidence, but if your character is not 100%, there's going to be a flaw. There's going to be some sort of gap in your play.
Yes.
And I think that gap will be exposed. At this moment of time, I don't think we are building our character enough.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going through the pathways enough.
Yes.
And I think we do need to focus on our characters, our mindset, and positivity to break through to top flight football. Adnan, I've got to stop it there for a second. Thank you very much. We're going to take a short break. Stay tuned with us. We'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum, all dear viewers, welcome back. This is your host Hussain Mahmood, presenting live on UC TV. We have our special appearance guest today, Adnan Ahmed, a former professional footballer. Sat right aside us, and we've been discussing some key points today. So Adnan, we was just touching on character building just a moment ago. We're going to leave that there for a second. What I want to know next is, we're always short of time, and we've got text messages coming in as well. Your professional career.
Yeah.
Okay. How well done. MashaAllah. Exactly. Excellent work.
Exactly.
Alhamdulillah, you make us all proud. Very well done. Now we want to give it back to the community, and let's get a few more members.
Yeah.
Well, a lot more members.
Yeah.
half of them, if you ask me, through to the next stage, inshallah, with your insight. So can you tell me a bit about how your first professional contract?
Yes. I mean, what about fast track, because we've got to Bury now, fast track what happened after that to get to the professional contract. So when I was at Bury, I did really well in those 2 years I was there. And then Man United spotted me from there. To be honest, at that stage now, I was probably playing the best football of my career at that stage, where I ended up having like a free role, and the manager saw the ability that I had and just said to me, basically, just get the ball wherever you want.
Excellent.
And do what you want to do.
How old was you then, Adnan?
That was under 12s, under 14s, that period.
Good age, good.
So basically I was going strength to strength, obviously I was training more, and it's at that stage, which is a critical point here, where I think even my dad, for example, and my family realised that actually there's a pathway here now. You know, before that, it's a case of grassroots. It's a long way to get there. You get to Bury and you're still thinking it's a long way. But then all of a sudden now that you're sticking out to be the best player there, and that's what I was really. Without sounding big-headed, I was probably the best player at Bury.
Mashallah.
And then there's quite a few teams after me at that stage now. So again, going back to your point of how do you do it? You know, if you're sticking out and you're playing well, scouts will look at you. Simple as that. So I had quite a few teams at that stage: Burnley, Man City, Blackburn. But obviously when Man United come knocking, I've always supported them as a kid as well. So it was one of those where opportunity I couldn't, turn down. And that, under 14s I signed over there on a schoolboys, and to be honest, that was a fantastic experience. Now from Bury to Man United, that's gone up another level again.
Absolutely.
So the professionalism, the demands increased, tenfold at Man United. The demands now are, literally every other weekend you're getting players coming. I remember Lilian Thuram, who's obviously right back for France, his cousin coming in on trial, from at the age of 15. At that stage you could have kids coming in. And it was now, you realise that, look, you're going to have to be better than you've ever been. Otherwise you're not going to get through. And I was playing...
The competition is high.
Very high. That's one thing I realised there. Yeah. There's players ready to come in. And luckily, obviously, we had a good team. We had Darren Fletcher, we had Keane Richardson. We were two...
So you played alongside Darren Fletcher?
Alongside, yeah. Darren used to come over from Scotland because he was based in Scotland. But he used to come every 2-3 weeks and play games. But even at that age, he was outstanding.
He was a really good player.
He was outstanding. At that stage, I think he stood out more than what he actually did once he got into first team.
Did you feel that when you was playing alongside him as well? Did you feel, I need to up my game? Who is this guy?
No, he was...
Because obviously he was not known as well. He was a youngster.
He was known in every team in England wanted to sign him. He was outstanding. Yeah, he was known to every scout in every club. And they all tried to sign him.
And how did you feel playing alongside him?
So
did you feel a little intimidated sometimes?
It wasn't about intimidated, but you realise the levels at that stage. I knew that.
It was an eye opener.
When I was talking about small fish in a big, big pool before, now this is another level.
You did actually feel that gap.
He was, way above anyone at that age. He was about to make his debut at 15. He couldn't because of the rules actually. So that's what level you're talking about. He was at, and same with Keane Richardson. What I found at United was the fitness and the speed and everything had increased. Like Keane Richardson, he was a machine.
He's a machine, isn't he? Really?
Sprinting wise, he could sprint like there's no tomorrow at the age of 40.
Did you sprint with him?
Obviously, I tried to. I have no idea catching it.
You did go sprinting with him.
No,
right?
Obviously, in training you do running and stuff like that. So when we
is he as fast as he looks on TV?
He was unbelievable. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So when you go to United, you're now getting the best of the best. So for me, to be in that environment was fantastic, and it was a great, again, talk about a character building journey. Now it's a case of now I've got to dig in harder, because just to keep up to these guys, this is where I felt my physicality, being South Asian generally have a slighter frame or slimmer frame, so I had to work harder on my physicality at this point. Okay. This is when that came into it, under 14s. Before that, it's about technique. It's not about physicality as much. Okay. Under 14s onwards, it becomes about, obviously more physicality. So without boring too much or going into too much detail, but I had 2 good years there, and I was very close to getting a scholarship. But to be honest, obviously Darren Fletcher was way better than me. So
are you saying, were you up against Darren Fletcher?
Yeah, so obviously he's in my position, central midfield.
Yeah, central midfield.
So he was there. There was a guy called David Fox who ended up being a professional there. To be honest, most of them went on to be professionals, and that's what normally happens with Man U. Obviously the players that are there. So
Honest question then, Adnan.
Yeah.
This is the moment. You felt you got there. You put all the hard yards in.
Yeah.
Darren Fletcher's there as well.
Yeah.
Was it a strict question of talent?
What do you mean in terms of?
In terms of the qualification process and getting to that scholarship or getting that position, getting the contract.
Yeah.
Is there any other factors?
At this stage, no. If I'm brutally honest,
brutally honest, would you say that it was fair? You were fairly
yeah, I would say so. If I look at it on realistic terms, he was the sought after whole of England. You
can't really argue with that.
You can't argue with that. And to be honest, my mindset's always been I don't look at that. Even if I have a knockback, you get on with it. And that was a big knockback for me when not getting scholarship there. Manchester United, because
not back in your character and your confidence.
Confidence, obviously, and just obviously if you want to, you're at the best club in England, etc., in the world, arguably, and to be told that you're not getting a scholarship, it was a big setback for me. And the first one really I've had in my career. Everywhere else it's been excellent. Everywhere I go, I've been going up.
But Adnan, come on, you're talking about Manchester United, yeah?
No, exactly. Yeah, no. It's when you look back, obviously.
Surely it's not going to be a breeze through there.
Obviously, naturally, you have that self-pride. You have that obviously ego, whatever it is. You want to do the best, and you want to do that.
Enthusiasm and all that.
So after that point, it was big shock for me, really. And this, to be honest, was probably my critical moment from getting released there, because a lot of players don't recover because mentally it becomes a big barrier.
I just want to touch on that. I know it's not today's show, Adnan, but we are focusing on it. One of our shows coming up will be about aftercare.
Yeah.
What happens when players get released.
Yeah.
I don't want to go too much into it now because that is a big topic.
Yes.
And you said that was one of your critical points as a professional footballer yourself. I could feel that that was a moment in your life.
Definitely, yeah.
And so without going kind of down the care side of it, or the counselling, rehab type of recoaching type of side of it, what did you physically do next? What happened next? Your professional contract.
I guess again, it's more about the individual willpower comes in at this stage.
Okay.
So the first night, literally, I was crying in my bed. That's how gutted I was not getting a scholarship.
Literally, you're talking literally.
Yeah, I was gutted.
They're tears that you can't stop.
I was gutted. I was really. But the next day I woke up and had that steely determination. Okay, if it's not here, I'm going to go somewhere else, inshallah. Okay. And that's the key point here. If you're ready for that fight, then you've got a chance. Basically, you've got to be ready, and that comes within. You can't. No one else at this stage. When you start getting 16, 17, that drive's got to come within now. There's no your elder brother or your dad or anyone else, your family members. It's now what's within you that's going to carry you through. And that's what you find with most of the professionals that get through. They have that resilience and drive. Resilience is a big word. You have to be resilient in this game. You're going to have knocks, you're going to have setbacks. It's part of football. If you're not ready to take that, it's not the game for you. And this is what I find with what I see with many South Asians. A knockback comes, and that's it. They're racist or no. Okay, they might have been. That's unfair. I can't say
an element of
possibly
racism.
On those that I've. I can't unless you know the whole case. You can't. But possibly, let's just say it was possible. What are you going to do about it? You get up, you brush yourself up, and you say, right, I'm going to work harder, and I'm going to try.
I'm going to
prove it elsewhere. And that's the mentality you have to have. So at that point, then that's what luckily I had, and Huddersfield came in. Had a connection there because Steve Bruce's son was at United at the time.
Okay.
And Steve Bruce obviously was at Huddersfield manager at that time, at the top of the Championship. So he, through obviously his link to the academy staff, they called me in, and the rest is history really. I went there and did really well in the trials that I did, and just felt the right place to be. I signed there, and got 3-year scholarship.
Excellent. Excellent.
So that was from 16 to 18, 19 basically it works. And to be fair, I had a tough time. I got injured in the first year, missed a lot of football. So that was never been injured in my life. So that was another test in itself.
First time injury?
First I've been injured seriously.
What injury? How did he?
Basically I ended up getting a stress fracture of the back. And this was primarily or purely because of the amount of training I was doing. And when I look back, it was stupid. You know, I was training, and at that stage, another important point was, at that, I was a late birthday, so I was 15 when I actually went in to my scholarship, and then obviously turned 16. So I had to catch 2 trains to get there in the morning, and I was getting up at 5:30, and then getting 2 trains, one to Leeds, one to Huddersfield, and then on the way back, getting back at 7-8 o'clock every day.
Just on your own?
On my own. You know, obviously my dad can't be taking me now, he's got work, you know, alhamdulillah, we've got our own family business and stuff, but still you can't be driving, you know, 2 hours there. So that was, again, we talk about character building, you know, that was when I've actually had to do that myself at 15, 16. And that was, again, a vital part for me growing up, you know. So what happened, the injury happened purely because I used to come back and I used to go straight to gym at 7.
From training session?
Training, come home at 7.
So you warm down, you cool down.
So on the train, come back after that, and then literally with a couple of good friends that are still obviously my close friends now, an English guy called John Pepper, who's like a very close friend of mine. We brought up together since 10 years old. And
is he a footballer as well?
No, he wasn't a footballer, but he's you know, big into training. So just as a bit of social time as well, I used to go in with him and just train. Basically, I ended up getting a bad injury with my back. Were
you weight training? Or?
Weight training, but if you look at it now, this is obviously a device I'll give to kids now, you know, not to make my mistakes. That's the whole point of, you know, we'll touch on what I'm doing now, is to give back. You know, you got to train, work hard in the hour and a half, 2 hours. You know, and then you have to rest as well. It's very important.
Not overexert yourself.
Exactly, and that's what stress factor is, overexerting. So basically, I missed a lot of time in my scholarship without going too much detail on the rest of the injuries. But luckily, again, when it came down to a professional contract, they could have easily said to me that you're not getting one because I missed
so much of
3/4. I would say virtually. I missed
of the whole contract,
of the whole scholarship.
3 years of the whole scholarship.
3/4, probably at least a half, touching more than that. So I had some bad injuries. But luckily, the guy said, "Look, I've got belief in a guy called Jerry Murphy, who was academy director." He said, "I believe in you now. You know, I want you to come back in." So they give me initially it was like a 3-month pro contract. And said, look, if you do well, you know, you'll extend it and you'll get them. And when I came back I don't know what happened to me this pre-season, but I came back with the first team. And something just said to me that in a drive came that, look, right, I don't care who I'm with. I don't care they're first team players. I don't care if he's a big name first team player. Right, I'm gonna show you who I am. And that's the mentality I had. I went into training, all of a sudden now, I wasn't really a tackler, but I became a tackler. So I was really smashing into
I've seen some of your pictures actually going into that
exactly.
tackle.
So I ended up, you know, really going for it. And within, you know...
There we have it on screen, Adnan.
Yeah, exactly.
Going in for them tackles. Is that Huddersfield?
That's Huddersfield.
I thought that is the blue and white, isn't it? Yeah.
That's that against Bradford. So that was an important turning point for me then. Actually, I would say I became a man then at that stage, because now you're with the first team, you're not with youth team boys your own age, it's with you know, experienced players. And within, I would say, 4 weeks of pre-season games, I scored 3 or 4 in that first team, and the manager took a liking to me immediately, the first team manager. And it just escalated from there. Within, I think, a month, I got a 1-year contract then as a professional, so they extended it immediately. And then it was down to me then to really push on. And alhamdulillah, luckily I did well enough to then make my debut against Rochdale, which was an amazing moment really, because from the age of 9, that's what you're working for, is that debut.
Absolutely.
It was a surreal moment because I didn't even think I was in the squad a few times before, but never made the bench. So I've got there and I actually didn't bring my bag this time. So I didn't think I was going to be on the bench, and I've gone there, I've seen my shirt up, and I've seen a few of them looking at me a bit funny, so I kind of had an idea something's going on here today. And then he called the team line up, I was there, so I had to ring my brother to go and get my bag, my boots, because I didn't expect it. And not only to be on the bench, but to get on, totally didn't expect that, and it was an amazing moment really, you know.
First time, what did you get on straight away?
Yeah, second half, obviously second half,
yeah.
I think about 20 minutes, but ultimately it's your debut, you know.
It's
a surreal moment really was, you know, in front of fans, in front of a stadium, and it was an incredible moment for me, and that was the start of, you know, becoming a professional then really.
Excellent, excellent. So where did you go from there then, Adnan?
So
What was the next steps
that
from
rest of that season, I think played 2 more games that season. So now I was 19 then. And then the next season is where I really made my name. Came back and really, I'd say, pushed on a level. I really had that determination to say, look, Ricker, I'm going to get in the starting 11. I did that, did really well. And at that stage now, we had, I think, 2 Premier League teams I was told came to watch me, Bolton and Wigan. I finished off the season very well. But unfortunately, the next season, where really that was my year, season to push on and basically build on what I did the previous year. Unfortunately, I worked so hard in pre-season and overdid it again with
the back again.
Yeah, not back, just on my legs. I tried to build my legs up too much and come back. Ended up getting tendinitis on my knee, and it's one of those which I missed virtually the full season.
Yeah, you have to totally rest you, haven't you? Really?
Yeah, it's a tough spell. This was probably the hardest spell for me.
A bit of physio and.
Well, obviously they have the physio there, rehab and everything, but. It just never went away. I came back 3-4 weeks and then it was hurting again, and so I missed a full season really with that.
Just when you was in the right momentum.
Exactly, that was the time for me to
really kick on,
push on. So now I'm getting towards 22, and I missed a full season virtually at 21.
Prime.
So that was a difficult moment, because when you're injured, again, this is talking about character building. This is what people don't see the side of football. You have to be very strong mentally to handle this.
So many times you have niggles, you're not feeling 100%.
Niggles are one thing because you can get through them, but when you've got a stress fracture, you've got a broken, you've got tendonitis, there's nothing you can do. You're virtually on the sidelines watching. So that's one side of football that's tough. But yeah, luckily, alhamdulillah, I recovered from that.
Take the season out, recovered then.
Yeah, so I came back. I've managed to I found out the cure. Come back the pre-season again. I was really excited. And then I broke my foot. And,
man.
So it ended up being one thing after another. This is the thing, what happens with injuries. You look at a lot of players, once they get one, and it's a serious one, you'll find that they end up, unfortunately, it becomes like a little conveyor belt. Because you're working so hard to strengthen one part, you compensate on the other. So unfortunately, that was just by bad luck. Really, breaking the foot, you can't do anything.
Was that on the pitch? Or?
Yeah, on the pitch. Just went for a tackle, got caught, and metatarsal broke, snapped, and I knew straight away it snapped. I couldn't walk on it.
Is that you going into a tackle?
Yeah, I was going into a tackle. But this is why football's football. It happens.
Football,
so unfortunately, I was out for again another 4 or 5 months there, and now we see what starts happening is that self-doubt, because you've been out for a year. A year in football is a long time.
It's a long time. Of course, especially when you're in momentum, full momentum, and you have to come off momentum.
So now it's a year and a half, and then I'm coming back. So it's really at this stage now. There's a lot of mental fight I was having with myself to say, look. Okay, and then when I did come back from this one, I think what happened was I was thinking I was fit, but I wasn't properly fit. Again, it takes time. Once you're fully fit in terms of they're giving you the all clear, you still have to be another level of fitness to play football. And I think, realistically, I don't think I've reached those fitness levels to say that I'm fully back. But in my head, I thought I was back. And that's when I was getting frustrated, because I couldn't do the things that I was doing before. And it was purely down to fitness. I wasn't as fit as what I was. So after that, then basically I got released by the end of that contract.
Huddersfield.
And to be honest, I was starting to feel that was the best thing for me as well, because it's just the way it's going.
A bit of because there's a lot of time off then, exactly, in that 5 year period.
Yeah, 7 years in total there.
Yeah,
so
7 years.
I mean, it's a great part of my life, really great club. And then from there I went to Tranmere. To be honest, one of the biggest regrets I had was. Rotherham came in for me. They were league below, but the manager rang me and said, look, you're going to be playing, come down here. But Tranmere was a league above. They didn't guarantee me to play, and it worked out that way, to be honest. I never played much at all at Tranmere. It wasn't the right fit. There's a different environment there. So when you come from a club where it's your own homegrown club, the fans love you, everyone in the area love you there. But when you go to a new club, it's a different dynamic. It's literally the pressures and stuff becomes... from a different perspective. They're not going to give you the chance. It's a case of you've got to produce there and then. And I'm coming back from an injury here, so I wasn't ready to fire. So that was a tough period as well, where I wasn't injured. Alhamdulillah, I stayed away from injury actually for 2 years, but I never progressed at that stage. You know, just
as well as you would have liked.
Yeah, it was just a bit part player, and then you know, after that I went on loan towards the second year of my contract there. I went to Mansfield, to Port Vale. So that's when I started getting a bit of buzz back again, actually. I did well at Mansfield. I think scored 3 or 4 in 7-8 games. And then I went on loan to Port Vale, which was good. I think scored 1 in 5 games. It was a tough time, but then after that contract I started to feel good again. So then through my agent I got contact with a team in Hungary that was training in England, and he said, I know the managers, go and have a... And something just clicked again. It's similar to when I was at Huddersfield at the time. I was feeling very, very good. And in they tried them, and this is a team that's played in Champions League. It's a big team. It's the biggest team in Hungary. Every game's on TV. They get, you know, in the home ground.
Is it one of the favourite teams in
Hungary? Well,
they're
playing in Champions League now. Ferencváros, they played against Celtic 2-3 weeks ago, I think it was.
Okay, excellent.
So they get 20,000 every game.
Sound
big team, very
big
team.
team.
So alhamdulillah, I did very well in this. The 2-3 games trial that I had, I was probably one of the best players. And then luckily I got a contract there.
Excellent.
You know, had a year's contract. And that
played.
So I was fit. So I started the first 4 or 5 games, and then did get a little injury, unfortunately, again. But the experience there was unbelievable. You know, again, being South Asian background, going to a country that's, you know, to be honest, I've never really heard of it until then. And being in Budapest, again, talk about character building. This was like another level. You know, being by myself in a different country was a big test. But I loved it, to be honest. That was one of my highlights of my career. It was a massive club. You go down the, you know, city centre, you're getting people asking for autographs. Yeah. It's a huge team.
What kind of field did you?
That was like a Premier League field.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you know, the field you get there is. It was that because...
How about being British South Asian?
To be honest, the good thing was I didn't understand the language.
Well, this is it as well.
So I didn't really know what they were saying.
You could tell if they're smiling or growling.
Exactly, But to be honest, the people were brilliant there. You know, I did have that reservation. And I remember speaking to Craig Short, who's at Blackburn centre-back. He was their assistant manager. And he said, look, you'll be fine. You know, it's a good place. The people are very nice. And it was a great experience, you know, really was an amazing experience there. And one that probably, like I say, one of my biggest highlights, you know, from there. And then from there I ended up going to Iran. So just came out of the blue really. It's an opportunity to you know, go and explore a new avenue. I was 26 then at that stage, and just thought, why not? Let's go and, you know, give it a go. So I went to a team called Abu Muslim, again one of the most popular teams in Iran. Iranian football, obviously a lot of viewers probably won't know about the Iranian football, but that's the leader in Middle East. So if you look at Iran's way ahead of majority of teams. If you look at UAE, Saudi,
the standard
Qatar,
of football.
Standard of football. They've been playing for a long time. In fact, the British influence is back in the early 1900s on the seaports and whatnot. So they played football. So their teams are one of the best in Asia. Okay. You know, against South Koreans, Chinese. You
felt well competed with there.
Yeah, it was a very, very good level. You saw it immediately. You know, but the only thing there now was the professionalism. From the top was nowhere near what I was used to. You know,
is that off field? Off
the field, yeah. It's you know, it's very kind of like a mafia-led.
Is it?
Kind of. It's
not Ahmadinejad, is it?
No. If you do well, you know, you get paid. If you don't do well, you don't get paid. I mean, that's nonsense. You know.
Right. Okay.
But that's how it works.
Based on merit.
It's just that's how they work. Obviously, your contract with FIFA. They have to pay you, but they play games like that. So. It happens in those countries, and that's one thing I wasn't ready for. But again, when you look at life experience, you know, that was you know, a major life experience for me. You know, really totally different to what I've been used to. Completely different, you know. But that was.
But the food was great, right?
The food was amazing, yeah.
My next big one, and I'm looking forward to this. Playing for Pakistan.
Yeah.
Playing for Pakistan, Adnan. Viewers, stay tuned on this one. How good was that?
Amazing. Yeah, it's again, obviously, you never forget your roots. You know, when I was younger, under 15s, when I was at Bury Town and went to United, I got called for the England schoolboys. I forgot to mention that, but So I was in, again, that proves that obviously I was in the elite bracket of that level. So I went there at that stage. So you're only thinking about England then, and that, but reality, as soon as I got into pro, you realise the chances of playing for England are very far and few, if not.
I mean, you really do have to be
0.01%,
and that is based on talent.
Talent, yeah. If you look at the pool, you're
just look at the talent pool.
Yeah, exactly.
The pool of talent you have there.
It's just it's a very, very tough,
very, very stringent. Yeah.
So when they obviously someone rang me to say, would you be interested? And immediately I said yes. I didn't even think about it. I just thought, yeah.
Was that the sports ministers in Pakistan, or was that somebody within UK?
The football directors, the technical directors there. They had a link with someone in England. Mohammed Shan was called, and he does a lot for the Pakistani football. Real good guy, proper passionate football person, and he dotted the lines basically on behalf of them with us. And so I got the call up there. I spoke to my manager at the time. I was at Huddersfield, and they was like, "Yeah, go for it." Obviously it's once in a lifetime. It is once in a lifetime experience for everybody.
An opportunity, of course.
So I remember the game. It was Iraq World Cup qualifier, and Iraq had just won the Asia Cup at that stage. So they were the best team in Asia in essence. So it was going to be a tough ask, but I remember going out and the
first game, was it?
First game,
against Iraq.
World Cup qualifier.
It was the Asian champions.
Yeah, exactly.
Was that a 7-0?
7-0 loss. So then it was a baptism of fire, as I say, in terms of reality check.
You're not the only player on that pitch, Adnan. You're not responsible for that 7-0. And Pakistan football as a whole is not quite there yet.
No. It's in reality it's way off. Way off from where it should be. Did
you feel that you was way ahead or way advanced, and the gap between a national born Pakistani and international player as yourself coming into Pakistan? How far was that gap?
I would say there's a huge gap in knowledge and know-how. That was the thing. The players themselves, great lads, really good
stamina,
lads,
health,
hard-working, fit, very fit. If you did fitness work, they'd be up there. But the know-how of football, that's what you get here day in, day out, coaching.
Yeah,
they don't have that level of expertise. Positioning, technical knowledge, and that's just common sense in it. If you look at it, people here are A license, B licenses, but pro licenses. They're teaching the kids now.
But this is it. This is the mindset that we discussed earlier, and the pathways.
Exactly. So infrastructure really isn't the best in that point of view. I know they're trying to work on it, but you got to work grassroots upwards. To basically.
And how much of that work were they doing at the time you was there? In terms of grassroots pathways.
I think there's
coaching.
Infrastructure of the league. If I'm brutally honest, was very poor. The infrastructure wasn't there basically. For the level that you want to play at and want to be at, there's a lot of steps that needed to be done and still need to be done. So the infrastructure, grassroots, the full revamp of the grassroots system, having proper pitches. There was no real quality pitches. So how can you train without quality pitches? So a lot of factors that are the way behind at the moment, but hopefully, who knows, with a new direction, new leadership,
with Sports Talk Live, you could push in the youth today into Pakistan football tomorrow, because that is definitely the agenda here. And we don't only want to see success here where we are, but we want to take it right across, globally, internationally. So Adnan, look, I'm a little bit mindful of the time on the show. And there's something that I want to pick up on, something you mentioned off camera, and that's there's some of the work that you're personally doing in your local area. You've had, alhamdulillah, a fantastic career just in a small amount of time. I mean, I could talk to you about that for a week. And I'll be happy to do that. And hats off to you, my friend, my brother.
Thank you.
In the cause, very, very well done. You mentioned something off camera which I would like to bring to the attention of all our viewers, and please do share, like, and get involved. You're now focusing on passing the passion on to the youth today. And how are you doing that?
So basically, obviously, all the experiences that I've had, first-hand experience of, the ups and downs, the successes, the failures, if you like. So for me now, I'm trying to pass that experience on. So myself and another ex-professional player, Nathan Ellington, who's played in the Premier League, he was at Wigan. So we've both got an academy together, pre-pro academy, and basically everything that we touched on, we try to pass that knowledge on. So in terms of now the pathways, even the training that we have, it's all elite, B license, A license, coaching. So it's about, and it's for all of ability. So we have two groups. One is for the academy groups or the elite group, and one is for players who are coming in to want to improve basically, but they're not quite at that level. So we're trying to basically get them into training routine and just give them good advice basically. That's what it's about. It's about giving them good advice, from our experiences. And main thing for us really is helping them become better people really. Character building. Basically, through football, when you're in that environment, you learn a lot.
You absolutely do. I've always said football is a language.
Yes.
And when you're kicking that ball about, it's a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it is. That's the beauty of it. You can pick up a ball anywhere in the world, and you don't need to talk. You can just play.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't need to talk the language like you was in Hungary and Iran, for example. But the game's still there. So, what's the next step for pro academy? Is it
pre-pro academy
pre-pro academy?
Yeah.
Okay,
So we're developing. We're based in Blackburn. That's our main hub at AFC Darwin Stadium. Yeah, that's what we do every Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it's just about now, basically, developing it more and more and reaching out to more players. Basically, in a nutshell.
Well, when you're seeing talent, and you're seeing talent that you think was going to go on to the next level, has the backing, the encouragement, the charisma, the confidence, the fight. To make it to top flight, how would you encourage them to get to the next? What's your next step for them? Are you in touch with agents?
So basically, as well, on top of that project, we're actually now, I've got my own agency with Nathan Ellington as well.
Okay, all right.
So many of our players, going back to your question, we've moved many on into league clubs.
Excellent.
So I think off the top of my head, probably about 10.
10, you've actually put 10 players forward.
10 players that have gone through.
Some pre-pro.
Some I'd say probably 7 have gone through from us to there, and obviously there were 3 or 4 that was already playing, but they've come to us and we've guided them, if you like, mentored. So a part of what we've got now is we've got a football agency where we look after the players, the pick of the bunches, the likes of Serhat Tastamir, Tyrese Sinclair. Both have now gone on to make the professional debuts.
Excellent.
Serhat was at AFC File, then we moved into Peterborough for a substantial six-figure fee.
Oh, excellent.
So
really good work. So these guys are passed through you, are they?
Yeah, so they're our players. We're basically their agents. So naturally, because of what we're doing there, and just generally our experience, we've been through, me and Nathan, between us, and Frank Sinclair's our senior consultant for us as well, ex-Chelsea player. We've been through every single scenario that our player's going to go through. There's not one scenario that you can think of that they haven't been through, and that's what we try to pass on, from our point of view. And what we find is, obviously we're just trying to guide the pathways, and a lot of it comes down to themselves. What we find, we can guide, but when you're on the pitch, you've got to produce and you've got to take it on board as well.
It reminds me of the great saying: you could take the horse to water.
100%.
But you can't make him drink it.
Yeah.
So
it's a very important one, that one.
Could show you the door, but you're going to have to walk through it yourself. And that fight comes from within.
Exactly.
And it comes from how much you want it.
Exactly, yeah.
And you're going to want it. If you really, really want it, you're going to really, really get it.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's what I've always taught. And that pre-pro academy work you're doing and the agent work you're doing is really, really, really well. Alhamdulillah, with my show on Sports Talk TV, UCTV, and you've come on today to shed that insight. It's absolutely fantastic. I hope our viewers have taken all that on board. And let me point this out to the viewers also. I did mention we're looking for selected grassroots level clubs and players. And you've heard it yourself from Adnan himself, professional footballer, international and domestic. He's an agent himself. He's pushed 10 players onto professional leagues, and 3 have made debuts.
Yeah.
Is that right, Adnan?
Yes. Yeah.
So who's to say you guys, your friends and your family through Sports Talk TV don't have the network or the right infrastructure to make it through to football? What we're getting out there for you guys is what it takes. And that's the message we're breaking. That's how we're going to break the mould. You give us the character, you give us the talent, and there's absolutely nothing stopping us, British South Asians, getting into top flight football. Is that right, Adnan?
Yep, I'm spot on.
Fantastic. Finally, on that note, Adnan, if there was one final word that you'd like to summarise or put in a nutshell for the youth, the middle ages, and towards the end of the career, if they've not really made it, if you can summarise it in a nutshell, what would that be? And what would you like to say to our views on Sports Talk?
It's very difficult to say in a nutshell, but I would say the key thing now is, without a doubt, getting into good habits. I think that's one of the most important things that I got into as from a young age. So good habits meaning, training regular, doing the right things, to give yourself the chance. So I would say that's very, very important, because from good habits then leads everything else. If you're in bad habits and doing bad, stuff that isn't going to be fruitful for you, then naturally you're not going to get any fruits from that. So I would say get into good habits and, work hard as you can. Simple as that. Nothing comes easy. In life, you have to work hard to be successful, in whatever you do. So, getting good habits, work hard, and inshallah, an opportunity will come if you're heading in the right direction and you're prepared for it as well. So that's important.
Excellent. Adnan, many thanks for that message. You've heard it yourself there from a professional footballer, ex-professional footballer who's now looking to get the youth of today into them league positions tomorrow. So if you're working hard, we are your reach out here at Sports Talk. It's your host, Hussain Mahmood. Adnan, thank you very much for coming on the show this week. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. Thank you for your time, and thank you for all your hard work you're currently doing. Inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you the hikmat, give you the tawfiq, and give you the strength and life span to carry out the next challenge in your life.
Thank you very much.
Ameen. Jazakallah. Viewers, I did mention to you at the beginning of the show that improvement and changes have been made. We have been breaking the mould, and that change has to happen. So check out my show, episode 3 on UC TV. I have mentioned Heather Rabbits previously, with the former chair of the Inclusion Advisory Board. She recently stepped down to give way to Mr. Paul Elliott, who has, after my shows, developed a new diversity code in his role as the FA's head of Inclusion Advisory Board. So what's the change, I hear you say? Let me tell you. 19 of the 20 Premier League clubs have agreed to the code. What's the code? Which I'll tell you just now. More than 40 clubs have signed up in total, including sides from the EFL, Women's Super League and Women's Championship. In doing so, the clubs agree that 15% of new executive appointments will be from BAME backgrounds, with 30% of them being female. That's the new change that happened on the 27th of October this year. 25% of new coach appointments will be BAME, which is the Black, Asian and minority ethnicity, and 10% of senior coaching appointments. So yes, breaking the mold, making that change happen, it is happening. I would like to thank you all very much for tuning in, passing comments and likes and shares. I would like to thank Adnan, who's come on the show with us today, sharing his insight. All of the team at UCTV, thank you very much. This is your host, Hussain Mahmood, signing out this week, but do stay tuned with us next week, Wednesday.